Okay, guys, very welcome back to the show, and I've got a very, very special guest on the show today. I think I consider it a rare appearance. I've seen a couple of interviews with you lately, man, but I appreciate you taking the time out to talk to me today. It's Mr. Marty Garner, who's worked in WWF multiple times, also worked in WCW, NWA. How are you doing today, man?
Man, I'm doing great, brother. How you doing, Maurice?
Doing great, man. Look, really appreciate you taking the time out to talk to me today, and I always appreciate guys that like you that would give me the time of day. So, 100% appreciate it, man.
My pleasure, brother. Hey, man, I
Yeah.
was honored heard you want to do an interview, man. I never been to Ireland, man, but I love the accent.
You got to come over here, man. If you like to drink, this is the place to be.
I used to love to drink, man, until I got 4 DUIs and I had to quit drinking. So
Yeah,
I don't do that anymore. Of
yeah,
course, the taste is gone from me. I don't even want it anymore. But after you almost die a couple times, you're like, yeah, I should probably give that up. So
yeah, yeah.
it was
We'll
one of
we'll
those.
kick into that. We'll kick into that later. But what I want to know at the moment for people that are interested, what are you doing? What's your day-to-day life like right now? We'll say.
My day-to-day life is I'm a land surveyor, so I go out and survey lands and like subdivisions and where they're putting up houses and stuff. I'm the guy out there with the little level rod or prism pole or whatever. I'm out there doing my little survey and showing them where to put the houses at. So I do that. I come in, I pick my daughter up from school. We go to the gym and I come home, spend time with my little girls. I have two little girls. One of them is 7, and one of them is almost 2. And I have a son. Now this is crazy. I have a son that's 29 years old.
There's a bit of a gap.
Yeah, I had him out of wedlock. Quick story on him. I was in Prague. I used to work for Dwayne Johnson too. I was his personal assistant for
Yeah.
a couple of years. And so I get a call from my mom, and I'm over in Prague. And I said, "Mom, who died? Why are you calling me?" And she says, "Do you know this girl?" And I said, "Yeah, I know her. I used to date her." And she says, "Well, she says she has your baby." And I said, "Mom," I said, "I haven't seen that girl." And I'm taking a guess here. I said, "I haven't seen that girl in like 12 years." And she goes, "Well, he's
Wow.
12 years old." And so I came home. I told Rock about it. He goes, "Dude, you got to go home and check that out." So 2 days later, I was back home and I found out I had a son who was 12 years old that I had never met, and it was the craziest thing. It was wild. Everybody was like, "Hey, man, are you excited?" And I'm like, "I'm really scared, man. Really, to tell you the truth. I mean, it's great. It was a big deal to find my son, but also it was scary too.
Yeah, man. Especially considering you missed all that time as well.
That's what I hated so bad. I missed 12 years. So I asked the girl, I said, "So why'd you wait so long to tell me? Why didn't you tell me before?" And she said, "Well, he never asked any questions before. Now he's wanting to know who his dad is." And I said, "What? You stole 12 years from me. You stole 12 years from me and 12 years from him." And she said, "I didn't think you wanted to know. You was busy with your wrestling and this and that." I said, "No, no, no. Wrestling comes second. My family will come first." I said, "I no." And but I can't take it back. But we made up some time, man. He's a great dude. Love him to death, man. Looks a
Excellent,
lot
excellent.
like me. Maybe he'll grow out of that. So
Yeah. Are you doing any wrestling at the moment? Do you do any independence or anything?
yeah, I'm pretty booked up, man. I do a lot of independent right now. I did a thing a couple of weeks ago with Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy over there at their house for AEW. They did the deletion match. It was an 8-man tag match at Matt's house at the Hardy compound. So they brought me in as a special guest referee, and they've got the director's cut on YouTube right now. So if you want to go check the deletion match out on YouTube, I'm on there. They did a little interview with me at the beginning, and me and Caprice Coleman, and then at the end, I get to punch. Not to give anything away, but I get to punch Ethan Page in the face. So that was pretty great. And but it's great, man. I had a good time. I'm doing stuff here and there. I'm doing a lot of podcasts here lately. I was out of the game for about 10 or 12 years, man. I was out. I wasn't doing it much of anything. When I came back from working for The Rock, I kind of just slowed down. I was doing some here and there, and I kind of just slowed down and So about 10, 12 years, I was off the market. I didn't do anything. And I took my little girl to a wrestling show, and she loved it so much. And I'm like, man, I would love for her to see me do this live. She's seen a lot of tapes, and I'm like, nah, I still got some juice left. I'm gonna go out here and do it. And so for the last 2.5 years, man, I've been really hitting the gym hard. I've been cardio off the chain, man. I've been doing a lot of stuff. I've been in the ring. Me and Jeff and I, we trained a couple of weeks ago. We trained about a week before that, and he's trying to get back in shape. I'm trying to get back in shape. So
Yeah.
he's come off of eye surgery. Jeff had a double vision problem in his eye, and they had to cut a muscle in his eye right over here and loosen it up. Because that's why he was having double vision. So he's just now getting his eyesight back together. So we've been trying
Wow.
to train together here lately.
And how is Jeff? I know if a lot of fans will be kind of wondering how he is after he kind of had a difficult period there for a while, but he seems to be like he's ultra probably focused now to get back doing what he does best.
Oh, bro, Jeff is better than I've ever seen him in his life, man. As far as physical fitness, his mind is clear. He's not doing anything he shouldn't do. Dude is great right now, man. And I'm thinking he's gonna. I know people say, well, he's been great before and went back. No, there's something different about this time, man. I think he's really serious, and he's focused on his life and his wife and his kids, and he knows he's got it good. Sometimes you lose sight of that once you get that fame and fortune. You kind of lose sight of
Yeah.
what's really important. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and as we all get older, we all mature differently. And like wrestling is not an easy game to be in, like when you're on the road and there's drink and different things involved, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Because here's the thing too. I know he wouldn't mind me telling this, but I asked him one time. I said, Jeff, why do you go out and get blitzed after a match? He said, well, if I have a good match, I kind of want to go out and celebrate. I kind of have to go celebrate with myself. He said, so I'll just get some liquor or something and go to the room and just drink. And I'm like, dude, no. I said, that go out and have a nice steak. Go out and have a really, really nice steak and a nice meal and just have a couple of beers, man, and just hang out and don't get blitzed. He goes, you're right.
Yeah.
Right. He said, that's what I should do. And he said, I think, now, I think Jeff now, he's on that page now. I don't even have to
Yeah.
say it. I don't have to tell him anything anymore. He's there. You know what I mean?
And I'm guessing that Jeff and Matt are going to be involved in this massive AEW show in Wembley Arena as well. And he's not going to want to miss that in front of potentially 90,000 people, you know?
Oh, God, dude, that's going to be crazy. You going to go?
I can go because I do DJing and I'm booked in to DJ someone's wedding since last year and it's on the same day. So I have to make my commitment has already been made. I can't go back on something like that.
Right. I hear, yeah. I got a cousin that does the mobile DJ and stuff too, and he's got weddings. I'm sure you do too, booked up for a year. But
Yeah, yeah.
that's
It
gonna
just
be
so
busy.
happened. It just so happened to fall on that date on a Sunday, which is absolutely bonkers. But there you go.
Yeah, I know you were sick, man. But yeah,
um,
hey,
did Jeff? Sorry, go ahead, Marty.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, did Jeff and Matt train you? Yeah,
Here's the thing, everybody always asks, did they train me?
yeah,
No. What happened was we just had a we started off on a trampoline outside like all the backyard wrestlers do and all this stuff, and we just kind of came along together, and we kind of trained each other. You know what I mean? We would go to shows. We didn't know how to do anything. We was working the wrong, so we was working the right side of the body instead of the left side of the body. We were doing things wrong. People would call a move. We didn't know what it was. This was me, Matt, Jeff, Joey Abs from WWE, Jason Hart, Shannon Moore, all of us, Shane Helms. Well, Shane knew how to work. When we met Shane, he knew how to work already, but we didn't. We had no idea. So we kind of just trained and learned together. You know what I mean? And then later down the road, I would ask Matt for some advice because Matt really got into it deeper than I did on the psychology part. When I first started wrestling, I didn't want to know about any psychology. I just want to go out there and do moves. I was a spot monkey. That's all I wanted to do. And uh, so no, not really. We just kind of trained each other, man. We kind of trained with each other. And then our first trainee, I don't know if you know, do you know who Caprice Coleman is?
Yeah.
with Ring of Honor. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was our first trainee at Omega when we had our federation, and so we
Nice.
trained Caprice, and he started out reffing, and then he got to wrestling. He was Ice. That was his name, was Ice, and now he's he's the voice of ROH. He does wrestling too. He's getting jacked up, man. That dude is working out hard, man. We were at Matt's house filming that deletion match, and he goes in Matt's basement. He said, "How many pull-ups can you do, Marty?" And I'm like, "No telling, man." He gets up there and does like 30 pull-ups, and I'm like, "Dude, what?" I mean, he just effortlessly. And I said, "You know what, man? I can probably do more than that, so I don't want to embarrass you, so I'm not going to go." And so, oh, good. That's good. I didn't want to be embarrassed today. But yeah. But yeah, all of us, all of me, Matt, Joey Abs, Shannon Moore, Jeff, and a guy named TC Flexer. TC Flexer is Cameron Grimes' daddy. Now, Cameron Grimes just got on SmackDown, I think, on WWE, and his dad was one of the founders of Omega. Him and Matt were. And Omega was our federation of, it was called Organization of Modern Extreme Grappling Arts, and we called it Omega. So all of us lived within 6 miles of each other, that crew right there lived within 6 miles of each other, man. And what we did, man, it was kind of phenomenal, man, because our federation, we had all of us, then we had Shane Helms, and at the time he was Sugar Shane Helms. And then he became, the Hurricane later at WWE. And we had Mike Howell and Murray Happer, and they became, and me, we were the Duck family at ECW for a little while. One of them was jacked up, one of them was bowed up, and I was pucked up. Our last name was DUPP, Duck. And I had a girlfriend named May Duck. And so we came out of Omega too. And then we had Steve Carino worked with us a lot in Omega. C.W. Anderson, Joey Matthews, Christian York. I mean, we had a plethora, man. It was unreal, the talent that was there.
Seriously.
And not to boast or brag, but I don't think that's ever going to be done again. Not with that much talent in one spot, But we've done a couple of documentaries on Omega, and they're really good, man. I was just proud to be a part of that crew. You know what I mean?
Yeah. How did you ultimately decide, kind of go backwards again, but like, how did you decide that you wanted to become a professional wrestler?
This is a good story. Matt Hardy, let me straighten this camera up. Matt Hardy he was at my gym. I was 24 years old. He was working out at my gym. Matt's like 17 or 18. And we got to be friends. And one day he says, "Hey man, you should come by my house. I got a wrestling ring." I said, "You got a wrestling ring?" He goes, "Yeah." Okay. He said, "Man, we do matches over there. You should come by and check us out." So I go to Matt's house, and I get out of my car and I look around, and there's this black plastic. You can buy black plastic in rolls, and it's like 6 feet tall if you stand it up on the end. It's 6 feet tall. So they had these woods around their house. They had the woods wrapped in this black plastic, like they had an arena, but it was just black plastic up, just one area, and it looked like an arena. And you walk inside of it, and Jeff had graffitied all the walls with spray paint, and they had a little entrance way for the wrestlers, but they had a round trampoline with square garden hoses around it, wrapped around trees. So the garden hoses were wrapped around trees. They were the ring ropes, and they had a round trampoline. Shannon Moore was about 8 years old. He was a little kid, and he was one of the referees. And I saw Matt come in the ring and wrestle Jeff on that trampoline, and I laughed until I cried. And I'm like, man, this is so stupid. And Matt told me, he said, we videotape these matches, and then we sell them to the video store in a little town called Bass next to it. He said, we sell them to the video store, and then they rent the matches out. I said, so you make matches and put them on a tape, and you sell them to the video store, and they rent them to people. He goes, yes. I said, oh my God. Wow. So I got involved, and later on we got up with this other guy. His name was Kenneth Morgan. Kenneth had a half trampoline, half wrestling ring. So in the middle of this wrestling ring was a 4 foot section that was just trampoline. Crazy, right? So he said we could take this to the fair and do shows at the fairgrounds. So we did, and after about I don't know a few months of that, I said, Matt, we have got to fill this ring in and make it a real ring. I said we look like a bunch of clowns up there jumping on the trampoline, and this half is real ring, and the middle's trampoline. He goes, yeah, you're right. And that ring was terrible. We put plywood all the way across it, and it was just had a bow in it. It was terrible. And we had the can we didn't have a canvas. We had like a tarp, and it was real slick, and it was
Yeah.
terrible. But that's what we started on, and that's what got me into it was Matt being at my gym, working out at my gym when he was a kid.
That's crazy. That's a real nice insight, and people will love to hear that story, especially because of so many familiar characters involved as well. So, how does Mon end up on the trampoline and then onto WWF, the biggest wrestling company in the world, fighting Jeff Jarrett?
Well, we were doing a lot of independent shows, and like I said, we didn't know a whole lot. We were new, and Gary Sabah, who was the Italian Stallion, he heard about it. He saw us at a show, and he and George South used to run shows together. And he said, look, he told Matt and Jason Arndt, who was later Joey Abs, he says, I'd like to use you guys on a WWE trip coming up. He said, I'll take a few guys with me to WWE for like 2 or 3 days, and they do job matches. They do, enhancement talent.
Yeah.
And then he says to me and Jeff, he said, I want to see you guys work. He said, can you come up to this wrestling show I'm having this next weekend, next Saturday? We go, yeah. It was about a 2.5, 3 hour drive into the mountains. And we went, me and Jeff. He said, okay, I want you guys to go too. So it was me, Jeff, Jason Arndt, and Matt Hardy. And he put us in a 12-passenger van, and he had about 15 people in there and just stuffed us in there. So we went up there, and we were making $150 a night. Well, we thought we were rich, $150 a night, and we were on TV. So the first night, Gary Sabah, the Italian Stallion, he pulls off the side of the road after we got paid. Everybody got paid. There's 15 of them. He said, all right, guys. He said, well, I'm sorry. We got to our hotel. He said, all right, guys, I want everybody to come to my room really quick. He says, pay your dues. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, it's going to be $100 a night for my fee. So every night we got paid $150. $100 went to the Italian Stallion. So in a 3-day trip, he got $300 from me, $300 from Matt, Jason, Jeff. Everybody on the van gave him $300 for that trip. And we made $50 a day. That's what we made after we gave him $100. But we didn't care at the time, because we were on TV with WWE. Man, this is great. And he stuffed like 4 people into one hotel room. He told WWE he needed 14 rooms, 12 rooms, something. He stuffed us in about 8 rooms, and then he kept the rest of the money for the hotel too. So he was making money hand over fist. And but that's how we got to WWE. And later on, Matt and Jason and Jeff and we decided, look, we got to say something to WWE about this. So they said something to WWE about it. They didn't let Italian Stallion come back, and they raised our pay $100 a night. So we got $250 a night now. And wow. Gary was no longer involved, but he was just robbing everybody blind on those trips, man. So anyway, but that's how it got started. And they loved the fact that Matt and Jeff were brothers. They were the Hardy Boyz. And back in the day, some of your listeners might not even remember this, but they had a Hardy Boyz series of books. Hardy Boyz and Nancy Drew. It was what were they, detectives, I think, but it was the Hardy Boyz and Nancy Drew. So they were like, your name's really the Hardy Boyz, right? Yeah, that's us. And they loved those guys. So once they had a spot for that tag team, man, they brought them in, and the rest is history.
Mm. And were you familiar with the WWF product? Obviously, you were watching it. Was it kind of nerve-wracking to be going to that level so fast?
It was, man. I was nervous, man, because my deal was this, and it's going to sound crazy. I didn't follow wrestling that well at the time. I mean, I loved it, but I used to follow it when I was younger, but I'd kind of got out of the loop. So the first time I went to WWE, I didn't know who everybody was. And that was crazy in itself. I was in the entertainment business because I used to rap and do all kind of stuff, man. So I was always into entertainment, but I had to kind of learn who everybody was when I went there, and it was tripping Matt Hardy out because I was like, who's that guy right there? And he'd tell me, and I'm like, okay. And I didn't know. I was just being honest, you know. And like people always ask me about the Triple H deal with the Pedigree. I'm
Hmm.
sure you've seen that.
Yeah.
He when he was new there. Of course, I was new. That was like my second match at WWE. And he said, "Can you take the Pedigree?" And I said, "Absolutely." I didn't even know what the Pedigree was. All right. I mean, he was so new. I really hadn't watched it that much, so I didn't know what the Pedigree was. So when he hooked me, he put my head under his legs, like in his legs like that, and hooked me. I thought, hey, this is going to be a power bomb type deal. So I kicked hard. When I kicked, as you can see on the video, I went straight up and straight down. And it looked like a double underhook pile driver. And he thought he broke my neck. He said, GD, he said, "You all right, man?" I said, "Yeah, brother, I'm good." He said, "Man, that was impressive, man. That was great." And 4 matches later, we're doing TV that night. 4 matches later, I go out to work Jerry Lawler. I'm like, I really didn't sell Hunter's gimmick too well. I just went out 4 matches later in front of the same crowd and worked Jerry Lawler. And but they didn't care. It was for TV, so they didn't really care. But that was a crazy night.
Yeah. Did Jerry give you the pile driver that night as well?
Jerry, what did he give me, man? I can't even remember the finish, man. I don't. What did he give
Yeah.
me? He might have. He might
Sometimes he
have.
was doing the fist from the top rope either as well. He was doing that, wasn't he?
Yep, yep. He was.
Yeah.
I can't remember the finish.
Yeah.
I have to look that up now. I can't even remember the finish on that match. But he gave me a lot of
Yeah.
stuff in the match. And when we went back through the curtain, they kind of got on to Jerry. They're like, "Jerry, who's the WWE superstar here? You or Marty?" He said, "Man, you gave him a lot of stuff out there." But see, I think that's what people should do. You don't go out there and squash somebody because what have you done? You hadn't beaten anybody. If you squash somebody, you know what I mean? I like to see them be a little competitive. I know you're going to beat them, but hey, make it look a little competitive. And Jerry did that, man. Jerry, I'll always remember Jerry for that. I loved him for it, man. He let me shine a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We'll go back to the Triple H thing. I wasn't going to bring it up till later, but obviously, was he worried then that you were fairly hurt after that incident, or what kind of interaction did you have with him afterwards?
No, he was like, "Dude, you sure you're okay?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm fine." He goes, "God almighty, man." He said, "You sold that very well." And I said, "Man, I'm good." And a lot of people say, "Oh, Marty Garner sued the WWE." I never sued the WWE. Never thought about suing the WWE. It was just, you know, it was. I loved it. I thought it was great. You know, I was like, "Man, I got never
Yeah.
Triple H. That was awesome." But
Yeah.
no,
So you
it
were
was
back
fun.
in
He never said one
you
bad
were
thing.
back year yeah, and you were back years later, which we'll get into later in the WWE anyway. But did you ever have any interactions back in the 90s, we'll say, with Vince McMahon?
Yeah, I did. Not very many, but Vince knew who I was, and he was cool. He come out one night, and I'm sure you know who Mike Awesome is. Mike
Yeah.
Awesome worked with at ECW, and Mike was going to do something. He had what was that girl's name that Mike was pretending to date on WWE? I can't remember her name. Very hot though, blonde,
Was it
and
Sonny?
it was no one Sunny. It was God. She came after Sunny. I can't
Sable?
remember. But she was going to do this deal with somebody in the crowd, like flirting with somebody in the crowd, and Mike Awesome was going to come over
Yeah.
there and like pie face him. And so we did that deal, and Vince come out there that day. He goes, "Look, I need." He said, "I'm gonna." He said, "I'm gonna grab Marty Garner. Marty, you want to do this deal tonight with us?" And Mike, and I said, "Yeah, absolutely." He said, "You've probably never seen a woman's breast, have you?" I said, "Not many." And he just trying to have some fun with me, but he goes, "All right, here's what we're gonna do." And he showed me what we're gonna do, man. It was easy. Um, I'm thinking, wait a minute, was that? Yeah, that was WWE. Or was it WCW? I did something for WCW around along the same lines too with Kwee. I was involved with Kwee in a deal with the crowd too. But yeah, I used to do little spots like that occasionally, and then I'd wrestle sometimes, you know. And uh, I just never got that big deal. You know what I mean? Um,
Hmm.
Psychology, I have to admit, when I first got going, I didn't know anything about wrestling psychology, man. I was just running my deal, thinking, hey, I'm gonna do it my way. You don't tell me what to do. But if I'd have listened, I, got a little further than I did.
You got to work with Jake the Snake as well, and he dumped the snake on you at the end of the match. What was that like? Was that scary for you? Are you cool with stuff like that?
I'm not cool with snakes at all. He
Right.
dumped that snake on me, and after I just closed my eyes, I couldn't look at it, and it was so heavy. And I asked later, I said, "How much did that snake weigh?" They were like, "It weighed 200 pounds." Holy God, that was the biggest python I'd ever seen. And when I saw it on TV, I'm like, "Oh my God, man!" It felt like, I mean, it was like a man hitting you. It's just like a man dumping on you, man. And I was like, "No, I'm not looking at this." If I looked at it, I would have panicked. I'd have freaked out, man. But it was
Did
crazy.
you know that was going to happen?
Yeah, yeah. He told me it was going to
Yeah.
happen. I didn't like it, but I said, well, that's the deal. If I'm going to work Jake, I gotta, that's my deal. So, and Jake was, he was pretty juiced up tonight. He was drunk, and he
I
wasn't.
I watched that match earlier, and that's exactly what I thought. But he seemed really kind of aggressive, or maybe aggressive's the wrong word, but he just didn't seem himself in that fight.
Yeah, he was very. It was careless. You know what I mean? Like he had my feet on the top rope, and I'm facing the mat, and he had my head, underneath his arm, and he just lets me go, and I fall from the top rope into the ring like that, and I'm like, dude, that was really crazy. And then he puts me in a sleeper. He says, "Going out, kid," and I go out. Then he slaps me in the face to wake me back up to give me a short arm clothesline DDT, and then the snake. I'm like, that didn't make a lick of sense. That was just so crazy. But that's he was he was inebriated. He wasn't all there that night.
Yeah, and that's like, so he's pretty stiff with you that night then as well.
He was pretty stiff, and yeah, he wouldn't even talk to me before the match. He said, "All right, easy night, kid. Short arm clothesline, DDT, snake." That's all he told me, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yes, sir." So
And was that tolerant in WWF, say in the early '90s, to be having a few drinks? Now I know Andre the Giant. I talked to a lot of people, and Andre kind of got special privileges off Vince, and he could handle his drink because of the sheer size of the man. But was that kind of normal practice for other people as well?
yeah, I guess if you didn't tell them you were drinking, they didn't. What are they going to do? I mean, they let it slide for years. With Jake, I believe too, because I've heard so many stories about him being drunk in the ring with somebody else, and I guess they just wanted to keep him around, so they didn't say anything, and as long as he wasn't hurting anybody. And but if I'd have had a longer match, he'd have probably hurt me because he was really physical and careless that night. And he
Yeah.
would tell you the
'Cause,
same right now, I'm sure.
yeah, he's a totally different man now,
Yeah,
thanks to DDP as well.
yeah, he's got his life together now, so great, great to
Yeah.
see that.
Yeah. Is there anyone else that comes to mind that was kind of a bit rough and ready in the ring with you?
With me, yeah, well, they should have been because I was in the ring one night with Yokozuna and Crush, and Yokozuna was 640 pounds, and
Yeah.
he threw me out of the ring, and somehow I got a concussion, and I go to the back, and we were in Ohio, and I go to the back and I see Matt Hardy, and I go, "Hey, Matt," I said, "What are you doing here?" He goes, "We're wrestling, Marty." I said, "Where are we at?" In Fayetteville, North Carolina. He goes, "No, we're in Ohio." He goes, "Dude, you're gonna have to sit down." And I sit down, and he's trying to. I had a match, 4 matches or 5 matches later with Timothy Well and Stephen Dunn. They were called Well Done. And I wouldn't even say. I begged them to let me go out. I begged Matt to let me go out there and work them because it was a TV match. I wanted to do a TV match, and I didn't even sell. He was punching me, and I wouldn't sell it. He was going, "Sell, dude, sell." He didn't know me, so he was lighting me up, and I wasn't selling because I was so gone. That concussion, it was terrible, man. But that was the only other time I've really gotten stiffed in the ring. But I deserved that one. That was the one I really deserved to get because he was trying to make it look good, and I wouldn't even sell it. So that was a cluster right there. I should have sat down and knew my role, like Rock would say, but I didn't. I want to get out there and do the game. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Did you have any interactions with Hulk Hogan over the years?
yeah. In 2003, when he had he was he was going. I forget that kid's name that had one leg at
Zach
WC.
Gowen.
Yeah, he was in a deal with Zach, and I was playing a police officer, and a few other guys I had brought with me. They were playing police officers, and he runs into the ring, and we're holding him back, and keep him away from him, and whatever. I'll never forget Hulk saying to me, he goes, "Hey brother, easy brother." He said, "Let me go a little bit," because I was trying to hold it back, and I was getting a little serious with it, I guess. And he goes, "Hey brother, easy brother, let me go a little bit." And so yeah, that was fun. And I've got a buddy in Florida who is one of his best friends, and he always says every time I come down to see him, he goes, "We're gonna go see Hogan." We never do go see Hogan, but he's Hogan's stockbroker, and he took me by his house one night, and he wasn't home; he was out of town. But yeah, so we've never been over to see Hogan, but he always promises that we're going over there, and so I don't really know Hogan that well.
Yeah, maybe you should go over. I just seen on his Facebook page he had a bikini contest there, and I think it was Tuesday night. Hogan's bikini contest.
Oh my God,
The beach
that
shop.
up still, man. He's living right on the beach. Um, 14 grand a month for his rent a few years ago. I'm like, dude, that's a lot of rent money. But yeah, I guess he's doing well, man. I mean, he's living it up.
Yeah, I think
He's divorced from his wife, I think now, and so I guess he's doing what he wants to do.
I'm sure he's having fun somewhere along the lines. We won't go into details.
Right, right, absolutely.
Who was your favorite opponent to work with? Let's just say ever.
Ever? Oh man, ever. Well, WWE, I'd have to say Jerry Lawler was one of my favorites. Um,
Yeah.
I used to love working Matt back on the Indies. Me and Matt, we worked a
Hmm.
lot of good shows together. Jason Arndt, Joey Abs, excellent to work with, man. We did some things that other guys can't do with me. I mean, Jason was special, man. He was an athlete. He could make you shine so good. Um, and I'll never forget one night I was coming to the arena. I was coming to the National Guard Armory we was going to wrestle at. And I tell Matt when I get there, I said, "Hey, dude, I've been thinking of something." I said, "We've never done this." I said, "But in the main event, I'm going to have you outside the ring. I'm going to set up a table." I said, "Then I'm going to put another table on top of that, folding table." So I got two of them stacked up. I'm going to light the bottom one on fire with lighter fluid. And we're going to get two or three guys and we're going to lift you and set you on the top table while the bottom table is burning. I said, then I'm going to get in the ring and I'm going to put a chair over there close to the rope. I'm going to set the chair out, fold it out. I said, I'm going to run and jump off the chair onto the top rope, do a front flip out, go hit you, break the top table, break the second table, the fire goes out. He goes, "Let's do it." Never tried it
No
before.
problem.
It was like a charm, man. So I have to give it to Matt. I appreciate him saying, "Let's do it," because he could have said, "Nah, I don't want to do that." But he didn't care. And we did it and it worked perfect. And I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. You had I think it was about a 9 year gap in between your two WWF appearances that are credited, but I'm guessing you were kind of doing maybe extra work and stuff like that as well. So when you
Yeah.
came back in for when you came back in for the second time, one of your first opponents, I think, was Val Venus. What was he like to work with? Because he was pretty hot at that time with his adult movie character, you know?
Yeah. Val Venus was great to work with, man. He was easy. I'm on a trading card with Val Venus, actually. He's standing over top of me and he's doing his little hip thing. He's got his hands back here and he's doing his hip thing. And I never noticed this before, but you see underneath his trunks, and underneath his trunks is the head of a penis. But you don't see that when he's wrestling. I mean, and I was like, so I'm looking up and I'm seeing this a fabric penis looking back at me, and I'm like, great, this is great. So anyway, I'm on a trading card with that above my head. I'm like, that's great. But yeah, he was a good guy to work with, man. He was awesome. I worked. I don't know if you remember Vladimir Kozlov. He was there for a while. Big
Yeah.
Russian.
Yeah.
Every time I come up there, I worked him one time in a dark match, and he goes, Marty, maybe me and you work. I said, hey, brother, it ain't up to me. It's up to them. You got to ask them. He goes, yeah, okay. And the third time we worked was my last time on TV up there. And he come up to me and he goes, hey, Marty, maybe you hit me in the face. I do this, you hit me in the face. I said, okay. He says, I want you to hit me right now. I said, wait, right now? He goes, yeah, really hit me. I want you to hit me really with your fist. And I'm like, nah, man, I don't want to do that. He goes, no, hit me. I'm Russian. I'm a tough guy. Yeah, I can take it. Man, I hit that dude right in his jaw hard. And it's probably about 75% of what I had. And I hit him and he goes, yes, like that. I'm okay. So I hit him like that in the ring and he didn't care. He thought it was great. But I like that guy, man. He was a cool guy. And and I want to tell you one more thing. I know probably a lot of people was wondering. So Matt and Jeff got there. Jason Arndt got there. You were their traveling partner. You didn't get there. And man, I apologize for this camera. This camera I'm using is fading. It's like I see the lighting on my end messing up. But
It's all good, man. It's all good. It's all about the audio.
So anyway, I was Johnny Laurinitus, which are Hulk and Animal brother. He was a big
Yeah.
dog at WWE. He did all the hiring and firing. And Johnny, he talked like this all the time. So
Mhm.
I asked one night after I had a match with that last match I had with Vladimir Kozlov.
Kozlov, yeah.
I said, hey, Johnny, can I speak to you tonight after the show? He goes, yes, sir. So I said, look, man, what's it gonna take, man? What do I need to do? Tell me what I need to do. If you tell me to eat sauerkraut, I'll eat sauerkraut. Whatever you need, whatever I need to do, man, let me know. I said, I just want to work here. He goes, Marty, you want me to be honest with you? And I said, absolutely. He said, we don't think we can make any money with you. I said, oh, really? I said, you never heard my promos, have you? I said, bro, I can get that crowd so hyped up and so hot. He says, well, I said, you never watched any of those tapes I sent you, Johnny? He goes, I don't have time to watch tapes. I said, okay. He said, I'll tell you what you do, Marty. Go off and make a name for yourself somehow, somewhere, do something. He said, and then come back and see me. Okay. I went home. This was when I'm dating myself now, but this is when uh what was the first thing that came out? Not Facebook, but
Bebo.
What?
Was it Bebo?
No, it was
MySpace.
it was MySpace. Okay. So I went to MySpace and I wrote a blog. It was called The Forgotten Beatle. And I talked about how when the Beatles came to America, they left a guy behind named Pete Best. I said, he never got famous. And I said, that's how I feel because Matt and Jeff made it, Shannon Moore made it, Jason Arndt made it, all these other guys made it. And, I got fans asking me if I can get them Matt and Jeff's autograph. I said,
Mhm.
that hurts. And I
Yeah.
talked about that. And Matt, I asked Matt, I said, what should I do with this blog? He said, send it to every wrestling newsletter you can. And I did. And in a week's time, it got like over 100,000 hits, man. And people were reading it. I got into Fighting Spirit magazine. They called me, and they're from England. And they called me, want to do a 4-page spread on me with all the pictures and articles and stuff like that. So they were pumped up about it. And on the internet, people started saying they started a Hire Champagne campaign. So there were people actually going to the shows at WWE holding up signs that said Hire Champagne. And one night, Matt called me, said, dude, you got to look on TV tonight. They got your signs in the audience. There's 2 or 3 signs that say Hire Champagne. I said, no way. I turned the TV on and they blurred them out where you couldn't read them. WWE blurred my signs out. So I went to a show after that in Greensboro, North Carolina, about an hour from me. And I'm walking through the parking lot going into the show, and there's a car. It said Hire Champagne all over the windows, the doors. I'm like, oh man, that is so cool. And Matt said people would be wanting autographs sometime, and they'd have a Hire Champagne sign up. And they were in England after that, and Taker gets on the bus with all the boys, and Taker looks around and goes, did anybody see that 6-foot long Hire Champagne sign out there in the crowd tonight? And he looked at Matt Hardy. He said, isn't that Marty Garner, Matt? He goes, yeah. He goes, what is that about? And Matt told him. He said, well, tell him I hope he gets on, man. That's awesome. So a few weeks after that, Matt calls me. Matt said, hey, Johnny Laurinitus wants to call you. He said, can I give him your number? I said, absolutely. I'm thinking, this is it. This is it. Johnny calls me, says, Marty, he said, did you start a Higher Champagne campaign? I said, well, I didn't start it, but it got started, Johnny. He goes, and then what he said something else, and I agreed. I said, yes. And then he says, did you give somebody my personal email? I said, Johnny, I don't even know your personal email. He said, well, I'm getting 300 to 500 emails about you every day. People want me to hire you. And I said, and I think some of them are just a robotic thing, just
Bots.
sending emails out. And I said, Johnny, I didn't do that. I said, he said, well, I don't want to ever see you again. He said, if you come to a show, I'll have you arrested. I said, Johnny, I'm just trying to get an effing job. That's back when I used to curse all the time. I don't curse anymore. I said, I'm just trying to get an effing job. He goes, now you're cursing at a senior official of WWE. I said, Johnny, I'm not cursing at you. I'm cursing about the situation. I said, man, I just want a job, man. I've been busting my butt, making videotapes, doing clip tapes, all this other stuff. I said, man, I'm great on the mic. You won't even give me an opportunity. You won't even watch it. You won't even give me a chance. He goes, I don't want to see you again, Marty. Click. So that was it. I never went back.
Was that the last time you seen him?
Yeah. Last time I seen him.
So you didn't see him then when you came back in to do the Hogan thing with Zach Gowen then?
No. I think that Hogan thing, yeah, that was a
Or was
WWE.
that? Yeah.
That was in 2003. So I think, I'm trying to figure out, did I do the Vladimir Kozlov thing after that or before that? But I know the Vladimir Kozlov match was my last match, is what they say on the internet. It was my last match in WWE. But no, after Johnny told me that, I never went back. So I know that after he said that to me, I never went back. And that might have been 06 or so, maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure when it was, when me and Johnny had our little confrontation. But I mean, I knew after that, man, I was finished at WWE, man. There was no chance, And I went, I actually went to WCW and I worked a couple of matches at WCW. And man, right when I got down there doing a couple of matches, Vince McMahon buys WCW. I'm like, no way. I'm just trying to get in out down here at WCW. If Vince McMahon just bought WCW, there's no way that just happened. And it did. And that was crazy too, man. But we could go on for hours about the missed opportunities and the crazy stuff. And I'll have to tell you this too. Jason Arndt couldn't believe this. Joey Ab, he calls me one night. And he said, man, I got to tell you something. I said, what? He said, I was at the training facility today in Stamford, Connecticut at WWE. He said, and Shane McMahon comes out and says, guess who we were just talking about in the business meeting? He said, who? He said, Marty Garner. He said, somebody said that Marty ran over his girlfriend with a Corvette. And Jason says, I don't know, he might have. I said, Jason, you know good and well that she hit me with the Corvette when I was walking through a parking lot. She hits me with the Corvette. I roll off the hood and I was okay, but she was a nut job. And he said, well, wow. I thought they were asking me. I didn't know why they were asking me. He said, I was scared. I said, Jason, you just buried me. Why did you bury me, man? Why would you do that? I don't know, man. And then he tells me this himself. So I know it's true. He told me. So then a couple of weeks after that, he said, Shane McMahon come up to him again and goes, so we're just talking about Marty again. Tell me how is he in the ring? Jason said, man, he's kind of all over the place, man. But he could work. I'm like, Jason, why did you say that? Just tell him I'm good and to try me out. But he said he's kind of all over the place. His psychology isn't all there. He said, but he'll do what you want him to do. I said, Jason, that's not helping the matter. And that kind of buried me too. So after those 2 times they talked about me, I guess they didn't talk about me anymore. But
yeah,
and I putting the blame on Jason, but why would you do that to your boy?
Yeah. If you look, obviously or maybe you don't know that John Laurinaitis isn't there anymore after the whole Vince McMahon scandal, etc., and he was involved allegedly, and stuff like that. If the opportunity came now that he's out of picture to go back, would you go back for whatever role or an appearance?
Yeah, absolutely. Here's my thing. I've had some guys who are about my age. They were telling me the other day, said, "Yeah, man, me and you, we out of the game now. We ain't trying to get no job or whatever." And I said, "Nah." I said, "Bro, let me tell you something." I said, "If they want to give me a job for a couple of years, it's a win-win for me." I said, "There's always going to be people that want surveys done, so I could always come back and start surveying again." I said, "And to get a chance to work on, with a big show for a while on WWE or AEW." I said, "Man, if someone wants to give me a contract, absolutely. If it's for the right money, absolutely, man." Because I've always I've always wanted it so bad. And at first it was for the fame. Now it's for my kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's for something different now. And I wrestle so much better now that I know it's for psychology. The psychology is better. The whole match is better because I'm doing it for a different reason. You know what I mean? And I want to be good. And so yeah, it's for a whole different reason. But yeah, absolutely, I would take it if they want to give me a little shot for a while. Absolutely, I'd do it.
Yeah. Let's talk about another very interesting aspect of your life and the whole Dwayne Johnson being The Rock's PA. How did that come about?
um, well, I was doing an independent wrestling show in Raleigh, and there was some guy there from Epic Games, and Epic Games, they made what's the name of that big game they got right now? Jesus Christ, it's huge. But th- this guy worked for Epic Games. He asked my buddy if he could come up and do some stunts on a video game for him. He goes, "Yeah." And my buddy told him about me. He goes, "Oh, Champagne." He said, "I saw him wrestle the other night." He said, "Does he do all these flips and stuff too?" He goes, "Yeah, man." So he brings me up. And after he seen what I did, he didn't invite my buddy back anymore, but he invited me back again. And I felt so bad, man. But
Yeah.
he's kind of shy, and he didn't really, I don't know, he wasn't aggressive, like he should have been as far as doing those stunts. And I was, if I hadn't ever done anything before, um, I'm gonna act like I did. You know what I mean? You fake it till you make it. So
Yeah.
anyway, I did that, man, and he sent me to California. He to another one of his buddies. He said, "My buddy needs some stunts done on the video game out there. Would you be willing to go to California?" And I said, "Yeah." So I got me and Bowed Up, Murray Happer. He went with me. We go out there and we're working for this guy on a video game shoot, and he goes, "Do you know who The Rock is?" I said, "Absolutely." He said, "Do you know him?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I know him through WWE." He goes, "Well, I'm going to call him and tell him you're with me." He said, "I got his number a couple of weeks ago." I said, "Okay." So he calls Rock and he tells him I'm with him and leaves him a message. He never called back. So I felt like an idiot. The next day, the video game guy says, "I tell you what, let's go out to the movie set where he's at. I know where they're filming." I said, "Man, I don't know if that's a good idea or not. Just show up." He goes, "Nah, it'd be all right." I'm like, "You don't know the wrestling game, man. You don't show up like that." But anyway, we showed up. Rock wasn't there. He just left the set. His stunt double was there. His stunt double said, "Come to the bar with me, man." He said, "We'll call him." He calls Rock and he has the phone to his ear. He goes, "Yeah, do you know Marty Garner?" And I hear Rock go, "Champagne's with you." He said, "Put him on the phone, man. Put him on the phone." So he put me on the phone and asked me what I was doing there. And I told him. He said, "I tell you what, come out to the set tomorrow night on Hollywood and Vine. We'll be there from 12 midnight till 6 in the morning." So I came out there and me and Murray Happer and the video game guy. And we walked up. As soon as they said cut, Rock looks over there at me. He goes, "First name Sham, last name Payne, former male exotic dancer from Las Vegas, Nevada, who traded his G string for the wrestling ring, and pound for pound, the baddest man in the square circle." And everybody starts clapping. And he said, "Hey, that ain't me. That's him. That's Champagne right there." And he said, "And there's more." He said, "If you want to hear it." So we went to dinner that night, man, had a good time. He said, "Man, stay for the weekend, Marty. You got to stay the weekend." I stayed the weekend. They had a wrap up party for the movie. The first night we hung out, I met Britney Spears and Justin Timberlake and, a few other people. And we're drinking Cristal champagne. And I'm like, "Man, this ain't happening to me. This is crazy." This ain't. And so anyway, uh, What is
Was
that?
this Marty? Just to interrupt for a second. Was this the Walk and Tall movie with Johnny Knoxville? Was it this one?
Yeah, absolutely
Yeah.
it was. They filmed that in Vancouver, Canada. And so to make a long story short, uh, that was in January of 2003. And in March of 2003, there was WrestleMania out in uh, Seattle, Washington. That's when Rock worked Stone Cold's last match that night, main
Yeah.
event.
19. Yeah.
And I go out there with $100 in my pocket. Okay, didn't have any money. I was gonna go out there regardless. I got to the hotel. I didn't even have a room at the hotel. Matt and Jeff were there. Shannon Moore was there. Shane Helms was there. So I thought I could crash with somebody, but they all were booked up with people in the room. And so Rock hears that I'm there. He says, he calls my phone and goes, "Dude, what are you doing here?" I said, "Man, just come to see the boys work." He said, "I'll tell you what, tonight me, Rey Mysterio, and a bunch of the boys are going out to dinner." He said, "Come out and eat with us, man." So I said, "Okay." And back in these days, that's when you had you had these little plastic phone cards, like with 20 minutes, 30 minutes on your phone card. It was for your cell phone, and you had to have those to make long distance calls or whatever. So I had one in my pocket for 30 minutes, and I see the bill hit the table. The bill was like $1,600 for the meal for all of us to eat. They put it right there at Rock's plate. I picked the bill up and said, "Let me grab this, man." I looked at the bill and put it down. I put my 30-minute phone card on the bill. I said, "Go ahead and take care of it with that." Rock, he like to peed his pants, man. He said, "You are a freaking idiot." He said, "Put them damn 30 minutes back in your pocket, boy." And so we get back to the hotel that night, and I looked at him. I said, "Hey, man, should I get a ticket for WrestleMania, or should I come to the back?" And he looked at me funny. He said, "Man, you go on with me tomorrow." He said, "What are you talking about getting a ticket?" And he said, "Be down here at 11 o'clock in the morning." And me, him, and his stunt double ran out in that lobby at 11 o'clock that morning to the limo. People everywhere, sea of people trying to get to us. We finally jump in the car. He pulls out his glasses. He said, "You ain't never seen no shit like that, have you?" I said, "Not in Bass, I hadn't." And he just dies laughing. Bass is where I'm from, a little town. Anyway, so that happened. I stayed that weekend, and his stunt double told me, so look, man, Dwayne wasn't going to tell you this, but he thinks the WWE should have given you a shot a long time ago. He said, so he wants you to come work with us on a movie coming up in June in Vancouver. He said, but act like you don't know that. He said, I want to give you some good news, man. He said, because you've had a lot of bad luck lately. So he told me that, and he said, when Rock calls you and asks you about your Social Security number, act like, just play along, whatever he says, just play along with it. Okay. The Rock called me and said, man, I'm gonna need your Social Security number for this big party we're gonna go to in LA. It's real secure, all this. And I knew he was doing a background check on me, but I went with it. I just played along. So I'm at a wrestling match in Fayetteville, North Carolina one night. Rock calls me. He said, hey, bro. He said, man, you ain't never asked me for nothing, man. He said, I appreciate you, man. You've always been a friend to me. He said, everybody that knows me wants something from me but you. He said, now I'm going to ask you for something. And I said, look, dude, I ain't gay. No, I'm just kidding. No, he didn't say that. But, so anyway, he said, I want you to come work for me, man, on a movie. Would you want to do that? And he said, first of all, let me ask you this. He says, how much do you make a week? And a weekly pay. And I told him, he said, how about $2,500 a week? All expenses paid. All your meals are paid. You don't have to fork out any money at all. I'll put you in a 5-diamond hotel. And I said, let me think about that. Yep, I want to do it. And so went to Vancouver, Canada, started filming Walking Tall. I helped him a little bit with a publicity tour for the Rundown. And I worked on a movie with him in Prague called Doom. And man, I'm gonna tell you what, it was a blast, man. It was just so much fun, man. And he told me on the ride home, on the airplane ride home, he goes, man, how was Vancouver? I said, man, it's the most fun I've ever had. He goes, yeah, for you. He said, I had to freaking work. You over there having a good time. And I'm like, I worked. He said, if you call that work, man. But he's always riding me about something, you know. It was fun though. Had a good time.
What exactly did your role entail then, being his personal assistant?
In the morning, see, they had a driver come pick me up. I had my own driver. Driver come to the hotel, pick me up, or the motel, not the motel, but the hotel. He'd come to the hotel, pick me up, take me to the set. I'd go to the caterers, and I'd go get Rock's breakfast or whatever he wanted to eat. Make sure his meals got to him on time. I'd make sure he had protein shakes. I'd make sure he had, his dry cleaning done, and any little errand or whatever. I was that guy. I did the errand, and I would stand there on set with his drinks and like a little cooler on my side, have them in a little cooler. And if he wanted a protein shake, I had it. If he wanted water, I had it. Whatever, I had it. And a snack, you know what I mean? So I just
Yeah.
try to keep ahead of him of what he needed and what he wanted, and just just make it convenient for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and he doesn't come across as a guy that would be like a prima donna or anything like that. But I guess like when you're doing these long sets and long days, you kind of need someone there to look after you. So I totally get it. But he
Yeah,
comes across to me as probably, and you'll know better than anyone, he isn't the big, massive headed egomaniac actor. Like he's still probably the same guy that you met in the 90s.
he is. He's man. If he met you right now, he'd treat you like family. You know what I mean? He's just like that, man. He doesn't try to big dog anybody. Like I'm a big dog and you're a peasant. Or something like. He doesn't do that at all, man. And I'll never forget one time he did crack on somebody. It was a girl. Everybody come up to him and said, "Oh, I'm your biggest fan in the world. I'm your biggest fan. I'm your biggest fan." And one day this girl came up and she was about 400 pounds. And when she left, he looked at me and said, "I believe she might be my biggest fan." He said, "Lord, forgive me. I'm sorry. I should have said that." But that cracked me. I almost peed myself when he said, "I think she might be my biggest fan."
He
But
was just playing the old heel.
oh yeah, he's such a good dude, man. One day we were on set. I'll tell you just a quick little story. We were on set one day. He's talking to somebody standing right in front of him, and I'm standing to the left. He has a big container of water. He's sipping his water, had ice and everything in it, and the ice was almost melted, but he had a bunch of water in his container. And he's just sitting there talking to the guy, and he just dumps it in my face while he's talking to the dude. And I'm standing there, and I didn't even sell it. I never sold it. I'm dripping with water. My hair's wet. Water's dripping down my face. And the guy in front of Rock's got his mouth dropped open, like, "Oh my God." And I look at Rock and I go, "So what do you want for dinner tonight?" And that guy and Rock ran around laughing, and they couldn't quit laughing. And so later, I went back to our little RV they had set up on the movie set, and I got a big container of water, and I put it on Rock's back tire of the Escalade he was driving. So that evening, I'd already put the moon roof back. So when he gets in his Escalade, I go to the passenger side window. I said, "Everything good for today, boss?" He goes, "Yeah." And he said, "All right, good job." I said, "All right, one more thing, man." And I grabbed that water and I dumped it over the moon roof and drenched him, man. And I ran. And he called me in like 5 minutes. He goes, "That was good, man." He said, that was real good. He said, "I hope this joke's over."
There's a strange kind of thing, and a lot of guys go back to like ribs in the business and stuff like that. It's when like when you get someone back and it's good, the wrestling guys appreciate it, don't they?
Oh yeah. Oh God, yeah. It's like, yeah, that gives you credibility when you can get them back. It's like, yeah, you step up a notch. And Rock knew if he ever got me, I'm gonna get him back. And he did me like that at the cleaners one day. We were out of town doing a shoot out of town. We were in Vancouver, but we went to a place called Squamish. And Squamish, we were going to be there for 2 days. We ended up being there for 3 or 4 days. So I took my clothes to the cleaners, and all I had on was a pair of sweatpants and a t-shirt. I didn't have on any underwear because they were dirty. You know what I mean? I was trying to pack light.
Yeah.
Rock, no, I didn't have on any underwear, so he comes up behind me at the cleaners, and I'm at the front desk asking the guy for my cleaning. And Rock comes up behind me, grabs my hips with his hands, and just jerks my pants down. Him and his stunt double and a couple other guys were behind me in the cleaners, and I didn't even sell it. I never sold it. I never jumped. Nothing. He pulled my pants down. I'm standing there butt naked. I looked at the guy at the cleaners and I said, "So, how much was it again?" And Rock died. He said, "Man, this fool didn't even sell it." And they were running around laughing and whatever. So he said, "All right, man, here's the new rule. If somebody pantses you, you've got to stand there for 30 seconds with your pants down." He said, "But if your underwear comes down, you get to pull your underwear back up, but you got to still stand there for 30 seconds." So one night he was signing autographs for all these young girls, these young teenage girls at a restaurant. I looked at the boys. I said, I'm about to get him. And so I go up behind Rock. He had on these long Nike shorts, and I got him. Boom! And he kind of squatted down a little bit, and he looked at that girl, and he remembered he had to stand there. He said, "Oh yeah, what's your name, sweetheart?" He's standing in his underwear signing autographs. And I said, "You know what, man? You all right." I said, "You lived up to your end of the bargain, and I appreciate you for that." But he was super fun to hang out with, man. Great dude.
Not too many people would have the balls to do that. When you were on set for Walking Tall, we'll say, and I know we're running close to our time now, but did you get to meet Johnny Knoxville on that set, and what was he like?
Oh yeah, Johnny was a nut job, man. We're standing on top of Johnny's penthouse one night at this hotel. They had Johnny in this sweet hotel with the windows all the way around the top of this hotel, and he had a view of like a bay with all these boats and this bridge that was lit up beautiful. We're standing on top of that thing one night, and he goes, "Marty, you think you can hit that boat down there with that bottle of beer?" And I said, "Oh yeah, man." I came like 5 feet from hitting the boat, and we didn't realize people were on it. We saw that right when I threw it. He goes, "Oh my God, there's people." And thank God I missed it. But yeah, Johnny, man, we had so much fun with that dude, man. He was a great dude. One night I come in the bar, and he goes, "Everybody, champagne's here, champagne's here." And he said, "Here, man, take this." He gives me some pill, and he turns back to the bar, and I threw it over my shoulder. He goes, "So how you take it?" And I said, "Oh yeah." He said, "Oh man, you're gonna get right here in a minute." And he didn't know I never took it. You don't take pills Johnny Knoxville gives you.
Oh man, I really enjoyed our conversation today, and I think there's room for maybe another conversation in the future if you're up for it. I really enjoyed it, man, and I'd like to thank you for your time, and I hope to see you on a big screen again soon.
Brother, that'd be awesome, man. Hey, Maurice, I appreciate you having me on, brother. It's great to talk to you, man. And if you ever need anything in the States, man, give me a call, dude.
Excellent, man. Thanks a million.
All right, buddy.